Okay. Okay. I'm sure all of you already know what PETA is, and even if you don't know the specifics or don't really agree with what they stand for or how they present themselves, you at least know the basic thing is that they try to save animals. And so I've been researching this organization for the past couple of weeks, and today I hope to not only introduce you to PETA and their main goals, but also their lesser-known actions, both the positive and negative ones. Before I tell you about their organization, I'm going to start just by talking about it, or before I tell you about what it does, I'm going to say what it is. So it stands for the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and it was founded in 1980 by Ingrid Newkirk and Alex Pacheco. And they operate under 4 basic principles, which are: animals are not ours to be eaten, to wear, to experiment on, or to use for entertainment. And because these are the 4 ones, they focus mainly on the animals in factory farms, laboratories, the clothing trade, and entertainment. And by entertainment, I mean like the elephants and tigers in circuses. And though I'm going to be mostly talking about giving examples about the animals they saved, like that were in terrible conditions, that's not all that their point is. Their main focus, like their underlying goal, is to cut all ties between humans and animals. So they don't want like any leather sold or like snakeskin boots or meat eating. And yeah. Okay, so keeping those 4 basic principles in mind, PETA has managed to end a lot of ongoing but not very well known animal abuse. And their first publicized rescue was the Silver Spring monkeys, and it took place about a year after PETA first was formed. And Alex Pacheco, which was one of the founders, he went undercover in a laboratory in Silver Springs, Maryland, and what he found were monkeys being experimented on, and what they would do is put the monkeys in surgery and cut their spinal cords so that they can't use some of their limbs. And then through electric shock and other negative stimuluses, they would try to make them use that limb that doesn't have nerves in it anymore. And then, so he exposed them to the media, and they went to court, and it led to the first ever criminal conviction for animal cruelty and the first animal abuse case to be brought to the Supreme Court. And that also brought them into the limelight more for other people to know about them. And it went from just being just being a group of friends to being, and now it's an international organization made up of over 2 million people. They also convinced 40 companies recently, including Adidas, Gap, Nike, and Reebok, to refuse Indian leather products because a couple of the members saw how those cows in India were living and died also. In India, healthy cows aren't allowed to be killed. So what they would do is they would torture them or poison them so that they don't have an excuse to kill them. And then they would make them walk to where they're going to be killed at, the slaughterhouse. And on these marches, they wouldn't be fed or given water, so they would start passing out. But to keep them going, because they have to get there, they would break their tails or rub chili in their eyes to add an extra stimulant. And so they expose that also. And then another thing other things they're also working on right now is ending amnesty animal testing, and they're trying to pass a bill to make a mandatory spay and neuter law to prevent homeless animals. And also how the Ringley brothers, the circus, treats their elephants. They don't like that. Okay, though they may be successful in getting their word out, and a lot of people know about them, the way they go about it isn't exactly typical advertising. And throughout the years, PETA has become somewhat notorious for being self-proclaimed press sluts, doing whatever they think they need to get, doing whatever they think will get the attention that they need. And this included in 2009, they stood outside McDonald's and handed out unhappy meals to children. And they, inside of them had a bloody rubber chicken, a cutout of Ronald McDonald, like the cartoon character, with a knife, and pictures of mutilated animals. And this was as an awareness to raise chicken, or awareness to the conditions on chicken farms. And then also, in 2003, also for chickens, they did a campaign that was like Holocaust on Your Plate. And they basically, by the picture you can see, they made like a 66-foot canvas and compared, and toured it throughout Germany, and then also like put it in front of the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. And they compared the treatment of animals to the concentration camps. And it wasn't taken obviously very well by the public. And one of the ladies, one of the older women, she grew up without family members because they died in the Holocaust. And she said this kind of exaggeration is an insult to the people who were mass murdered. To make a moral equation between chickens and humans belittles the people who died at the hands of these murderers. And this kind of goes hand in hand in sincerity with outside of the Westminster Kennel Dog Club show, they were comparing dog breeders to the KKK members because they were both trying to make the superior race or breed, and they're not having any consideration for who they're giving it to. And that was also not taken very well. They apologized for both a couple years later. And then their most recent stunt, which is it's not out yet, but it's coming out in December. And what they're going to do is have a pornography site, and it's encouraging veganism. And so what they're trying to do is expand to a new audience and have like a site, and then on the side have like tips of how to be a vegan or things to what you could eat, what you can't eat. And so we'll see how that goes. So in conclusion, today I've introduced you to people for the ethical treatment of animals and talked about their goals and some of their achievements and how they could be considered controversial, but also that they're willing to do what is necessary to get the support they need, and will probably continue to do so until they achieve their goal.
It is so sad.
It's all hate children.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Stephen, what did you think?
Two good things. She had like good eye contact with the audience as she was going, and she spoke pretty clearly. It was easy to hear her. But I also thought that that the thesis was clear at the beginning, but there was no thesis map. Like, she didn't provide a detail as to what she was going to go into. And she kind of did, but it was a little bit late after she was already starting to talk about some of the information. The whole thing kind of seemed a little bit unorganized, because the information seemed scattered a little bit. And other than that was pretty good.
All right. Well, you start with a clear statement and you identify the topic pretty well, and I thought your thesis was clear. You set up those secondary points with the 4 principles of the organization. I thought that was kind of interesting, although the speech doesn't really follow those principles, and then the supporting material seems to be a little bit more focused on the stunts that they've engaged in and the activities, their successes, for example, in changing things. I was a little unclear sometimes because there wasn't enough follow-up. You mentioned the Silver Springs monkey incident, for instance, and you say it resulted in a criminal case, cruelty to animals. It went to the court. I didn't hear what the resolution was, and it was a little strange because the description of the experiment sounds like it would have a use, but it wasn't clear to me what the objection was, other than the fact that they were doing something